I guess I must have unwittingly taken a short nap before I continued my journey, because the next time I opened my eyes, it was late afternoon. My head was aching so badly that for a few moments I suspected that the Queen's spies had somehow learnt about our rebellion and tried to poison us. But before I could accuse some of my friends of being on the Queen's pay, I remembered the cider. So yeah, I crawled out from under the bush that had involuntarily become my camp last night and desperately began to search for water. I was lucky that Bruno wasn't as fond of the clear liquid as he was of cider, so my water supply was still intact. I was also lucky that the bush that had become my camp didn't have any thorns or spikes, so my journey had started pretty well after all. I found the bottle and took a swig. I still didn't feel ready to stand up, and any rapid movement made my head spin, so I decided to rest a bit before continuing on my mission. At least I wasn't scared of being alone in the wilderness, like Emma, I told myself, and carefully peered into the woods. In the end, it got late, and I still felt the effects of the cider, so I decided to stay here for the night. I assumed that this bush, which, to be honest, was pretty difficult to crawl underneath, offered fair protection against anything that would want to crawl after me. So I decided to spend another night in this tried and tested camp. When I woke up the next morning, I felt much better, and after a quick breakfast, I was ready to embark on my mission once again. Unfortunately, my backpack still felt really heavy, and I started to wonder if Alex hadn't packed some stones into it as a prank. But unfortunately, that was not the case. I was really tempted to ditch some of the stuff, since I was pretty sure I wouldn't need it, but I didn't dare to, as I didn't want to leave any traces behind me for the Queen's spies to follow. My mission was too important to compromise in such a silly way. I continued walking through the thicket that day. It was harder than I had expected, but the thought of meeting the legendary Sara kept my spirit up. I could only imagine how happy she would be when I revealed to her what our group had learned about the Queen's plans. A few scratches were nothing compared to the stories I would tell my friends when I came back. At some point, I realized that I didn't recognize any of the surroundings any longer, but I didn't worry about it. With my tracking magic, I didn't really need to know where I was in order to find Sarah, and the fact that everything looked so unfamiliar only meant that I was really far into my journey. Thinking about Sarah made me realize that it was probably a good time to use my skills to find her. I walked a bit further until the wet ground under my feet indicated that I was close to a stream, and soon enough I could see water shimmering between the trees. I happily dumped my backpack on the ground as I halted by it and sat down on the soft grass, putting my feet into the cold water. It felt so good that I could stay like this forever, but I reminded myself of what I had set out to do: tracking magic. I was the best at it among all of us, but unfortunately, that didn't mean I was as good as my uncle Jarle. If I remembered correctly, what he had said was that you needed to be relaxed before you attempted to use it. It made sense. So, following his advice, I decided to have some food first and rest a bit in the shade of the trees before attempting to have a go.